Wow. Are people outside? My heart is beating so fast. All right. Thank you all for being here. You know, writing a book is a lot like having a party. Like, you wonder, is anyone going to show up? So thank you all for showing up. I'm so grateful. I have envisioned this for so long, I'm going to cry. First, I want to thank Lila over here for this beautiful space and your generous spirit. Oh, sorry. You'd think I was Sally Field. They like me. They don't like me. You've been so flexible and so generous. I'm so touched. And I want to thank Christopher Knoxon. Where are you? Knoxon. It was so perfect to be around the joy that your paintings elicit. The dragonflies and all these flowers and magic, thank you. And I want to thank Tabby Biddles. Raise your hand, Tabby. So Tabby and I have been friends for decades. And she's a women's leadership coach and an advocate for women's and girls' voices. And she helped me write this book because, you know, imposter syndrome and all that stuff that happens. And Tabby's an incredible coach and support system and an amazing writer. And she wrote the foreword for my book that just made me cry, which is not an unusual occurrence. And I want to thank Barbara Kossoff over here. Barbara I've known from advertising, and I hated the cover that my publishers did so much. I hired Barbara, and she created the art and the design for the cover and helped with some of the interior design, and has been my partner in crime and just such a magical creative spirit. So thank you for everything. And all my friends, and especially I want to thank Will, who has put up with so much shit. Like if I could make a copy of Will and sell it to all the women in the world, I would be a gazillionaire, because his patience and his loving support and makes my wings fly. So grateful. And Lori,
I thought you were going to forget me.
My dearest friend, who introduced me to Will, found our house in Ojai for us, and has been my partner in crime since we started our careers in advertising in our 20s. And she drove up today. So did Barbara, and so did Tabby. I just feel so blessed. So, okay, now I have to get it together. Okay. So, I know you won't believe this, but I was never really a dragonfly person. I was much more into hummingbirds, ladybugs, and butterflies. But something happened 20 years ago that got a hold of me and would not let go, and became an obsession, a need to express what I experienced. And so some of you have heard this story. I hope you'll bear with me. I'm going to try to give the, what's that called? The short version, the abbreviated version, the Cliff Note version, if you're old enough to know what that is. So I never really thought much about age until I turned 50 and found myself in the midst of a midlife meltdown, sobbing in our backyard in Westwood. I had lost my job, and it wasn't just a job, it was a huge career that I had spent 30 years climbing the corporate ladder. I started off as Peggy in Mad Men as a copywriter, and eventually rose up to become the only female senior vice president creative director at one of the largest advertising agencies in Los Angeles. Creating award-winning commercials for brands like Honda and Acura, William Wagman's dogs were in my commercials. The Coen brothers shot like 5 of our campaigns. It was a big deal. And by that point, I was more like Don Draper from Mad Men, but without the cigarettes or the martinis. And unlike Don, I was an older woman in a young man's world. And I had a little boy at home, parents with health and financial problems, and my beloved husband who's an entrepreneur, which, in case you don't know, is French for no health plan. So you can imagine how shocked and shaken I was when I lost that job. That company that had loved and adored me for 12 years laid me off just like that. They said it was cutbacks, but it felt a lot like ageism and sexism to me. But whatever you call it, I was sobbing in my backyard, and one day, really, when I just felt so devastated, thinking, like, what could I do next? Advertising is such a youth-obsessed industry, and especially for women, and especially women at 50. There just were not jobs. So I said a prayer to the universe and asked for a sign. I said, am I too old to reinvent myself? Please give me a sign. And I went for a walk in my neighborhood with our dog, Lucky. And when I came home, I had a sign all right, but I had no idea what was going on. There were hundreds of reddish-orange dragonflies whirling and swirling over our outdoor umbrella like nothing I'd ever seen. It was like some kind of crazy dragonfly ballet. And I didn't know dragonflies came in red. I didn't know that they traveled in mass. I got my neighbor over to see if I was hallucinating, like had I had too much organic jasmine tea? I don't know. But there were the dragonflies, and they stayed for 4 hours that day and came back the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Well, it was insane. So by that point, I had to consult a higher authority, Google. And when I did, I was blown away. I learned that dragonflies spend most of their lives crawling in the muck at the bottom of a pond. No wings, no colors, they're just these creepy, crawly, generic brown bugs. And while they're in the muck, they continually shed old skin and grow new skin, up to 15 times. This is more than you ever want to know about dragonflies. But it's so amazing. They keep shedding old versions of themselves, growing new versions, until one day they climb out of the muck and into the light, and their wings unfurl. So the whole time they were in the muck, they were growing their magic, like so many of us. And when I realized that dragonflies don't grow their wings and fly until later in life, I thought, oh my God, this is a message for me. Those dragonflies were coming to me to say, you're not too old. It's not too late. You're one of us. And it's never too late to soar. Well, that was magical enough, but it was only the beginning. Everywhere I went in Los Angeles, there were dragonflies. I'd be on the freeway. They flew across my windshield on the 10, the 101, and the 405. They cruised alongside me on Hollywood Boulevard and on Sunset Boulevard. One day I was going to the dentist in Beverly Hills, and right there on Beverly Drive, a big, fat, red dragonfly. What was it doing? Going to Nate Now's for a little chicken soup? I mean, but the dragonfly coup de grace took place at the Ojai Valley Inn. Will and I came up to celebrate our anniversary a number of years ago before we lived here. And we were going to lunch, and right there under one of those majestic oak trees was another swarm of red dragonflies. So I looked at Will and I said, I know this sounds crazy, which I say a lot. He rolled his eyes, which he does a lot. And I said, I think those dragonflies are trying to recruit me. I think they know that I'm a writer and a brand storyteller, and they want me to get their story out into the world. And as you can see, that's what I'm doing. That experience gave flight to my mission to uplift and inspire other women to rise up from the muck of old limiting stories into the magic of new possibilities. Now, I'd like to say everything went really well from there, but I found myself back in some muck. I realized as I was trying to move forward that there were all these voices in our culture and in our heads, all those old assumptions and stereotypes about aging people and especially women in our culture. And it's what I call the age cage, you know, all that yakking, you're too old, too late, too wrinkled, too blah, blah, blah. Well, in time, I realized I had a lot of shedding to do. So I worked on shedding those old stories and eventually grew a new one and developed Breaking Out of the Age Cage workshops and illustrated talks. And I took the Dragonflies Never Too Late message to heart. And as some of you know, had my first book, From Muck to Magic, published, and my first solo art show at 65. And now, at the right young age of 72, I'm releasing this book. And after all those years of branding other companies, I'm on a mission to rebrand aging as a process of becoming more of who we are, not less of what we were. Instead of seeing aging aging as an emergency, I want to see it as an emergence. And in the book, I've used the Dragonfly's transformation as a paradigm for our transformation and for us becoming more, not less, with age. So the book is about the inner aging journey, because I think there's enough about exercise and supplements and all that, but I believe that the most powerful anti-aging, or should I say pro-aging product that there is our minds. So this book is about changing our mindset about aging, because there's actual information out of Yale that people with a positive attitude about aging can live 7.5 years longer. So what I'm interested in is seeing the aging glass half full and helping women, and especially myself, stop clipping our wings and becoming more, not less, as we age. So I'm going to just read a very short little piece of the introduction just to give you a sense for the book. So the introduction, the title is, Who Needs This Book? That is a question that Edna, my inner critic, torments me with every time I sit down to write. Well, I've got news for Edna. I know exactly who needs this book. You do. Yes, it's for you if you've ever dreaded a big birthday, or feared you could be turning into your mother's version of aging, or wondered if you're too old to wear your hair long or your dress is short, or worried if it's too late to follow a dream, pursue a passion, or answer a calling. Or if you're navigating midlife changes and challenges like empty nesting, menopause, job insecurity, changes in priorities, in relationships, and in the mirror. And this book is especially for you if you've been made to feel less than as you age. Less visible, less relevant, less powerful, less worthy, less value. You know who else this book is for? Me. Because right now that mean judgmental voice in my head is saying, you're not really starting a new book at your age, are you? You're 71, for God's sakes. Do you know how long it takes to write a book? You see, Edna, who is also my inner ageist, wants me to believe that I've missed the boat, am over the hill, and should just fade into the background at this point in my life. Well, F you, Edna. I've got something to say that's going to change the way women of all ages look at the aging process, and men too. And I'm not going to let you or anyone stop me, so there. Feel free. If not, I'll sign some more books and eat some more food, because Larry from Roti was so generous, and I'm just so blown away that you're all here. who has a sonic butterfly, just reminded me that the butterfly and the dragonfly are going to join forces and create we're calling it a play shop in October 3rd. And while I'm on the subject of shameless self-promotion, so, originally I didn't even want to write a book because unless you're famous with a gazillion followers, it's a pain in the algorithm to get a book out into the world. But I had to write the damn thing. So if any of you know of any women's organizations that are looking for speakers or workshops, or if you're on social media and want to send a picture or tell your friends, I'd be so grateful because I've always depended on the kindness of dragonflies. And yes?
But I want you to finish, but I had a question.
Oh, okay.
Or a comment.
And so if you could share it, it would really mean a lot to me because I don't have a huge social media budget, but I have a huge idea that I just feel could help so many women. So help me fly it out into the world. Yes.
Yeah, because you asked at the end, I'm a writer myself and an artist, and my question for you, having the courage to do this, what do you know now that you didn't know before you started this book?
What do I know now?
In other words,
I
that's
know
what
that
book
getting
gets
a
of
book
it.
published sucks. But I also know that when something wants to come through to you, I mean, these dragonflies, I mean, it's the craziest thing, but the day that I got my first box of these books, a red dragonfly flew around my head. The first one that I've seen all year. I just feel like I feel like we're given sacred assignments, and this was mine, and nothing could stop me. It kept trying to stop me. I mean, I didn't see friends, I didn't do so many things because I had to get this out, and I just feel like when whatever that magic is out there comes to you, you gotta listen and go for it. So that's, for me, that was the biggest lesson.